أهلا وسهلا فيكم متابعينا بحلقة جديدة من برنامج يلا. اليوم حنستضيف الدكتور وليد فارس، وهو خبير السياسة الخارجية الأمريكية واللي شغل منصب مستشار الأمن القومي لعدة مرشحين رئاسيين بما في ذلك الرئيس الأمريكي السابق دونالد ترامب بعام 2016. وبيشتغل الدكتور فارس حاليا كأمين عام لمجموعة البرلمان العابر الأطلسي التي تضم أعضاء من الكونغرس الأمريكي والبرلمان الأوروبي، ويقوم بتقديم الاستشارات لأعضاء مجلس النواب والشيوخ الأمريكي بالإضافة إلى وكالات الأمن القومي الأمريكية. وألف الدكتور فارس 15 كتاب، أحدث كتاب منهم هو إيران جمهورية إمبريالية والسياسة الأمريكية، ويشارك في تقديم بودكاست الحرب والحرية مع الناشطة الحقوقية جيزيل شرمهات. خليكم معنا بهذا اللقاء لنعرف أكثر عن آراء الدكتور وليد فارس بكل المستجدات الحاصلة والملحة فيما يخص قضايا الشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا. يلا. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Waleed Faris.
Well, thank you for having me, Havi. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's a wonderful thing to have you, especially after so long. I haven't had you on for a long time.
It has been a long time, and we used to do long conversations, most of which actually happened in reality. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely. Lots of things have been happening. We're going to try to capture as much as possible in this conversation. Let's start with Iran, because a lot is happening over there right now, and you did publish a book. Your latest book is about Iran. It's called Iran, an Imperialist Republic and U.S. Policy. Can you tell us, in your opinion, with the latest developments and now having the so-called reformists become the president of Iran, what do you make of this change, and is there such a thing as reformists in the Iranian regime?
No, there is no such thing as reformist within the Islamic Republic regime. It's either you reform the regime and the next president will be the president who's a reformist, or this is a policy of showing the smiley face to the world while conducting the same policies. And thank you for starting with Iran, because I call it the mothership of events. And those events have been marred with so many dramatic developments, one of which is October 7, then the war in Gaza, then the situation with Hezbollah in Lebanon. But just to answer that first point, there is no change in this policy of strategy of the regime. It's the same. What they're trying to do, because they are concerned about a couple things. They are concerned about Israel finishing the war against Hamas in Gaza. They want a ceasefire. And we can talk about what they're trying to do here. So to have a ceasefire, you've got to have the sympathies of the international community. Oh, you're worried about Iran? Yeah, we got you a new president and smiley president. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, which is very important, and I hope we can discuss it, is they want to use the fact that this is a quote-unquote reformist president to crush the Iranian revolution.
You did talk about the influence the Iranian regime has in our country here in the United States, and specifically in foreign policy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because, you know, speaking about the elections, this is something that is very important to highlight today, especially.
Absolutely. I'm glad. I mean, today, as we're speaking, one of the heads of the U.S. intelligence community, who sits at the White House, finally admitted that they have discovered evidence that some agencies from inside the Islamic Republic are guiding, maybe funding, some of these jihadi protests or pro-Hamas protests here. I've been talking about it for the last exactly 10 years.
Yes.
When the first shipment of cash was sent by the Obama administration to the Iran regime 1 year before they signed the Iran deal. And then all these years I've been trying to convince Congress and the administration that there is a Khomeinist operation, influence operation within the United States. It's only now and very recently that they started to open their eyes. Of course, my book that you mentioned has 3 chapters on what I call the Iran lobby or the Iran deal lobby. It is an operation of influence, absolutely.
Now, when we talk about Hamas, because we know of all of the support that the Iranian regime provided to Hamas, including arming, training their fighters to commit atrocities like the October 7th. In your opinion, who is responsible behind Hamas for the atrocities of October 7th?
In my estimate, and historically, Hamas was backed by the Muslim Brotherhood, we know, in Qatar to certain years. But as of 1994, 95, 96, when hundreds of them were exiled into Lebanon, who took care of them? Hezbollah. Who took them to Iran to meet with the Grand Ayatollah? Hezbollah. So this is ironic that Hamas, which was born out of the Muslim Brotherhood, Ikhwan, and is mostly Sunni, is in complete coordination with the leadership of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And that was an argument I'm using today. Sectarian doesn't mean anything at this point in time. Are you either jihadi, are you either Khomeinist, or you're not? And I continue to assert that October 7 was ordered from Tehran.
We are closer to presidential elections. Now we know that there is this so-called reformist in Iran that vows to continue the exact same policies. But Israel is confronting Hamas right now. We know that Iran's strategy is based on hostility towards its neighbors, and that includes Arab countries and Israel. Where do you see the situation going from now?
If I'm in the shoes of the decision makers and strategic advisors in Tehran, I would do this. I would actually use a war against Israel for a variety of reasons that would get the Islamic Republic from what it was when there was a revolution to where it is right now, and then wait for American elections and French elections, as we just saw. So what were the actual goals of the Islamic Republic in ordering Hamas doing what I call it's a genocidal attack?
Yes.
It's not like a normal commandos attack. It's genocidal, killing babies, women, and targeting them, and we have the tapes.
Yes.
Even if you conduct an air war against Hamas or America and against the Taliban or against Saddam, these are wars. That's what happened in World War II. But this was an actual operation like 9/11, but even more atrocious because they were killing them face to face. At least Bin Laden, collapsed a building. Here, looking at the face of babies and killing them. So that is an indicator to where this murderous ideology is taking them. But the regime ordered Hamas to do it and to be very sharp in killing civilians, to grab hostages, to send a message in the region. The first message is to the Saudis. Do not think that you could get a deal with Israel without us. That was the first goal, and the Saudis were very close. Number two, basically, is to attack our troops. Remember, over the past 6-7 months, they want our troops, American troops, out of eastern Syria, out of Iraq, out of Kurdistan in Iraq, and out of the region. So they're putting pressure on the Biden, I call it Biden-Obama administration, to make a choice. And they're telling them, look, we have a deal, we're signing the deal, we're negotiating with you, so choose the deal and its money, or you're gonna do whatever we are telling you in terms of pressure Israel for a ceasefire. And my point that I made the clearest is that the regime was afraid of its own people. Remember the Massa demonstrations, the Iran women revolution. They know it's their people on the inside. They wanted to divert all attention to the Eastern Mediterranean and Gaza, and they did. And then they ordered their people in the West, including the United States, to demonstrate. Nobody's talking about the Iranian Revolution. That was the single most important event to happen. So they think that if this policy here continue, meaning if Biden wins or whomever comes in replacement of Biden, if that policy continue, they're the kings, they won. If another administration, I'm not going to name because these are domestic politics, come in and again try to stop the Iran deal, then they are prepared. Then they are prepared. They have their militias everywhere, they go to war.
You talked about a very important point, which is how they are funding and infiltrating our own system here in the West, specifically academia. And we saw the protests where our young students are protesting, holding Hamas, Hezbollah, in the Houthis flags, which is something outrageous for somebody who knows about how evil these groups are. How successful were they in their attempt to infiltrate and brainwash our own, young generations?
The many people who will be watching or are watching, first they understand that you and I have a very special background coming from the region, becoming American and understanding both sides at the same time.
Yes.
This was a victory by the jihadist movement against America. This was a victory. I came here way before you in the 90s, and I started as a professor of Middle Eastern studies, and I was shocked that already the pro-Islamist or jihadists or petrodollars were here ahead of us. They were taking over the classroom. And here's the reasoning, and I testified on this with Congress. If you control the classroom will produce the graduates who will go to the newsroom. That's why our media is going in all directions, because they're graduates from professors' classrooms who have already been influenced. And from there, they will go to the art room, that's Hollywood. They will go to the courtroom. That's why we see all these problems in trying to protect these jihadi movement, even to the war room. I mean, decisions we made on national security were impacted by this. So they have invested in the 90s. We tried to, you and I, for a while, to try to bring consciousness to this. And now we have more of us, you and I, we have more of us who are working from Iran American, Iraqi American, Syrian American, Lebanese, and others. So they won this part of the war. When we see tens of thousands, forget about those who like us came from the region and are already pro-jihadists. We know them. We know everything about. But Americans who were born here, who have no connection to the Middle East, putting the kafiyeh. Kafiyeh is beautiful, but it's a sign by the jihadists. This is Hamas's kafiyeh. And many people like you and I and others, many shows, many podcasts are up because they know better, and they know that if this generation is not liberated, their mind is not liberated, we are up for major problems in America. I decided to launch a podcast titled War and Freedom, the study of war, and how can we help freedom spread in the Middle East. It's a podcast that is young, that like you and I have discussed the same themes many years ago, but it adapts to what's happening now, and it's directed to campuses, directed to youth, directed to Middle East Americans, and where we conduct those discussions. It's not easy, but it's moving forward.
You were talking about how there was the peace, right? Of course, the Abraham Accords definitely terrifies these terrorist groups that live off of hate, anti-Semitism. They want to kill all the Jewish people, and they say it. The countries and people are more awakened now in the Middle East, North Africa, while we're seeing the decline that is happening in the West. What do you make of this very kind of sharp contrast that we're seeing, where more people in the Middle East, North Africa are aware of this evil ideology and are talking about that they want peace? But then here you're having the opposite happen.
Here's the deal. Number one, the jihadists are controlled by their ideology. They don't, when you see those kids running around and say from the river to the sea or etc., they don't know what they're talking about. Look at the social media interviews with the infantry of the Woko jihadists or jihado wokist movement. They have no idea about anything because
they don't know what river and what sea.
What river, what sea, and who and what, have no idea. This is catastrophic because you cannot even engage in any sense of intellectual dialogue with them. So basically, number one, in this case, the jihadists, those who are in control and command. And as I said in the beginning of our conversation, it's only recently that the intelligence community in America, and I am so shocked by this, it took 8 years, 9 years for them to see the beginning of it. But analysts are analysts. At the end of the day, in those good agencies, people see, I engage the analyst of, I don't want to name all the agencies, but about maybe 8,000 of them, of members, and they know that this is happening. It's a policy level that refuse. The lobby for the Islamic Republic, for the Ikhwan, for the other ones. So what happened at this point in time is that the jihadists would kill for this ideology. It's like the Trotskyists and the Stalinists. They don't engage in, that's why they empty the brain of those students in the classroom, so whatever they say, they'll follow them. I am concerned, and I communicated this to Congress, that all what we have seen so far is like between folkloric and fun. But if you arm them, if you order them, they have shown signs of violence. And America is not Europe. There is an American people, and when they feel that their bones are touched, it will go very badly. So I hope that the next Congress is going to do a massive educational reform to make sure that this deflected generation is not going to be, a problem for the United States.
Like please keep America, protect us from the insanity and violence and evil that we've seen and I've grown up seeing in the Middle East. I'm really happy that we got to chat today after such a long time, and I look forward to seeing you in future episodes on Yallah.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and good luck to you, and my best regards to your audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.